compression by percutaneous valve?
Yes.
Or yeah, okay. Now I will make it very short. A 21-year-old lady, 2004, when she was 3-year-old, diagnosed as DORB VSD PS. Same year she undergoes Rastelli surgery with a 19 mm pulmonary homograft. And now at 21st year, she has features of mild right heart failure, significant effort intolerance. Her RV end diastolic volume index is 158 ml. That conduit is regurgitating with regurgitant fraction of 42%. RV ejection fraction is borderline at 49%, and there is a moderate RV to PA conduit stenosis. On a clinical examination, she is a 61 kilo lady with JVP elevation. To and fro murmurs across the conduit due to stenosis and regurgitation. ECG is showing right bundle branch block. Echo shows a maximum conduit gradient of 65 mm of mercury with severe pulmonary regurgitation. The branch pulmonary arteries shown in the central slide, RPA and LPA are adequate. This is cross section of the RPA on the left side and cross section of the LPA on the right side. Branch pulmonary arteries are adequate. The conduit, this is the conduit. The conduit is measuring 16 to 18 millimeters, which now needs to have a valve, probably with some enlargement. And now if you carefully look at, there is a coronary artery that courses here. This coronary artery is actually a dextro-rotated aortic route, with the right coronary artery starting from the leftward side and coursing all the way anterior. I will show it in a better picture. This is the dextro-rotated aortic route with the right coronary artery, which is coursing all the way up here. Left coronary artery is far more posterior. So the RCA is very close to the conduit, and if I have to enlarge this conduit and put a stent, I am at a risk of compromising the right coronary artery. So now the next step is we did a hemodynamics. RV was 80, PA was 24 with a gradient of around 55. There was a PFO through which we crossed to the left atrium. Aortic pressures were normal. Now we are using a left coronary artery catheter to hook the right coronary artery because it is a very significantly rotated aorta, and so this is the right coronary artery. Now this right coronary artery was difficult to engage. So after trying with the Judkins left, then we tried with an Amplatz, we are able to appreciate that the coronary artery is adjacent to the conduit where the balloon is being inflated, but we were not able to hook it. The next one we used a EBU guide, and this is an EBU guide again hooking the coronary, and the proximal part of the coronary seems to be getting occluded because there is some sort of lucency in this area. Now this is the same EBU catheter which we deeply engaged, but we are appreciating that there is a proximal right coronary artery which is less filling, so indicating that it may be compressing. So we come to an orthogonal view for this, and this is an orthogonal view, an AP projection. We can appreciate that the proximal RCA is getting little squeezed and by the inflated balloon. So in order to get a proper coronary injections, we decided to wire the right coronary artery to prevent a disengagement. So this is the catheter, and this coronary wire is now waiting to go into the right coronary artery. So now we have wired the right coronary artery deep, and with that we have got a clear engagement of the coronary guide catheter. The RCA ostia itself, even without a balloon dilatation, we can appreciate that in some projections is looking little narrowed. So this is in a lateral projection, it looks a little narrowed, but in a more of a shallow LAO projection it is not narrowed. So we realized that RCA ostia is partially like a oval slit like opening. However, the RCA is flowing with almost TIMI 3 flows. So now we placed a balloon. we realized now that this is the place where the right coronary artery is originating. So we decided to place the balloon more proximally so that there is no balloon across the origin of the right coronary artery. Now we can see that we are actually pulling it out, and the balloon, it's only the balloon tip is related to the RCA origin, and here the flow is not getting obstructed. So here we are inflating the balloon. The balloon is inflated intentionally very proximal in the conduit so that the tip of the RCA catheter, which is engaging the RCA, is not getting occluded at all, and at that position if I make an injection, I know clearly that that RCA is not getting occluded. So in this conduit, if you are able to position the melody valve and the pre-stent exactly in this area without encroaching distally, we know that this is going to work. So this is a melody valve preloaded with an MADRAS stent. So now we are positioning the melody valve. You can appreciate clearly that the right coronary artery catheter is far posterior and the melody valve is far anterior. We inflated the inner balloon. We understood that the coronary artery is really posterior, and now we inflated the whole melody valve. We are clearly getting the coronary catheter posterior to the melody valve. Now when we inject, this is now the valve is getting fully inflated. Now this is fully inflated, and we can clearly appreciate that the RCA is posterior to the melody valve, and on an orthogonal projection we are able to get the flow across the right coronary artery quite well. So this ANDRA pre-stent that was there is going to protect the melody valve from getting a fracture. You can appreciate faintly an ANDRA pre-stent that is seen. Actually we load the melody, and on the top of it we put the ANDRA stent, and then we deploy it, so that it's a one-step pre-stenting plus valve. And here this is the left coronary artery which is normal, and here you can appreciate that the coronary artery, we are posterior, the coronary ostia is posterior to the melody valve. Now in order to confirm that we are not obstructing at all, we can do an FFR on the right coronary artery, and this is called a poor man's FFR. This is a 021 micro catheter that I have put in deep into the, I can show you here. The 021 micro catheter is going deep into the right coronary artery with the coronary artery guide in the ascending aorta. We took the direct pressures between the right coronary artery and the aorta, and the pressures were exactly the same, and then we pulled back the micro catheter all the way in. So this is, we confirmed that the right coronary artery is not getting obstructed. Just going to show one example of a left coronary compression. 50-year-old male, post Ross procedure, pulmonary homograft is calcified, conduit gradient is more than 75 with RV pressure of 90. Now we can appreciate that there is a circumferential calcium of the conduit, and the calcification is just localized to the lower end of the conduit with 310 degree circumferential calcification, with some areas having thick calcium. The branch pulmonary arteries were completely normal, and the coronary, this is the right coronary and this is the left coronary. You remember that this is a Ross procedure, so it's a re-implanted coronary. So now if I put a stent here, the stent may carry a risk of right coronary compression and a risk of left coronary compression. So how do we approach it? We are now engaging the right coronary, we are engaging the left coronary artery, put in coronary wires into both the right coronary and left coronary to ensure that the coronary guide does not get disengaged, and we are inflating a 16 millimeter balloon. With a 16 millimeter balloon, LCA is not getting obstructed, RCA is not getting obstructed. Now putting a 20 millimeter balloon. With a 20 millimeter balloon, there is no LCA obstruction. Similarly, there is no RCA obstruction. So then we went in to try for a 22 millimeter balloon. Now when we tried a 22 millimeter balloon, on an AP cranial projection, the coronary seems to be normal, but in an AP caudal projection, we can clearly see that the LMCA is completely getting obstructed by the calcium shift from the conduit. Here you can appreciate in this area obstruction to the LMCA if I put a 22 millimeter balloon. So what is acceptable in this patient is only a 20 millimeter balloon. So we put in a 20 millimeter melody valve, and this is a 20 millimeter melody valve fully deployed, and this is the melody valve functioning quite well. This is with a pre-stent, and now you can appreciate that the coronaries are normally flowing. This is the LCA that is normally flowing, and the same projection which showed the LMCA compression previously, this is the epicaudal projection. Here it is shown that the coronary is completely not getting obstructed. So what changed in the strategy? We decided that 22 is going to compress, but 20 is not compressing, so we put in a 20 millimeter valve. So in patients at risk of coronary compression, a careful planning of the procedure, a very clear identification of where is the landing zone. We have to land in a place where the coronary is not getting compressed, and in a long conduit we may be able to identify a proper landing zone. We should try to avoid the proximity to a coronary by either a proximal placement or a distal placement of the valve. CT is the key to understanding. Wiring the coronary will help in stabilizing the coronary catheter during interrogation and also help to rescue the vessel if it is compromised. Thank you for your hearing, and if there are any questions related to this, I will be able to take the questions.
This is not my valve, this is
Melody.
he is asking, in case of my melody, can we put a my valve directly? Pre-stenting.
What is the
My valve directly
yeah,
without
it can be done.
pre-stenting.
Can be done, but this is the patient here is, we are discussing not about what valve, we are discussing about how to address the coronary compression issue when there is a proximity to the coronary artery, how to plan out the procedure. About the choice of the valve, yeah, anything can be a choice.
In case of conduit, if you don't pre-stent it,
in case of, say in this case, your melody valve, it may fracture. But my valve without MADRAS stenting or other stent, you can directly put my valve or not?
I told that I have actually pre-stented. I told that I added a pre-stent Andra XXL on the top of the melody valve. These patients are having a pre-stenting with Andra XXL mounted around the melody. Okay. It's with the pre-stent.
Okay.
The melody is taken in the ensemble delivery system, and on the top we put in an Andra XXL, a heavy strength cobalt chromium stent.
no sir, what is trying to
both together and put in both together.
What he's trying to ask is,
no, can it be done without that Andra stent and directly with the my valve?
So that is what I was trying to tell him.
Can be done.
Yeah.
Can be done.
We'll still have to pre-stent it.
Because cost and all, because melody valve is quite costly.
No, not necessary. My valve will not need a pre-stenting.
Yeah,
my valve will need only a balloon interrogation to assess what is the ultimate size. Let us assume that there is a, coronary obviously, if you have a calcified conduit, the advantage of using a melody is that we can balloon interrogate the conduit. If there is a early sign that there may be a conduit rupture, you can put a covered stent, and within that covered stent you can go and land a melody. Whereas my valve is like just one go, you have to go in. And what happens, whether the conduit is going to rupture, whether the conduit is going to not rupture, we cannot assess. Because the integrity of the conduit to hold a melody valve, to hold a my valve will not be pre-tested. Whereas when we follow the melody valve strategy, we are going to anyhow do a balloon interrogation, we are going to pre-stent, the pre-stent is going to hold the conduit stable. So there are a lot of advantages in using a pre-stent followed by a melody, but I would say my valve also can be done.
What I would want to ask you, sir, is you are using ZMET for pre-testing, no?
In some, like whenever there is a larger and larger size, I go for a ZMET. Earlier, in the smaller sizes, for example, 12 and 14, I will use an Atlas Gold. Okay. The reason why we are going for an Atlas Gold in the smaller sizes is that we can break some of the calcium and create a space. then it becomes easier for the ZMed to go and do the further and further dilatation.
But in that
If you straight
situation-
away take a ZMed balloon as the primary balloon,
Can
Yes.
I
But
have
in that
another
situation,
question?
but in that situation, if the calcium ruptures,
no, in the Sushil's question, Sushil's question is that if the calcium ruptures.
Yeah.
Now that is why I told you we start with a 12 millimeter. Assume that it is a 20 millimeter conduit with a heavy calcification. A 12 millimeter will only fracture the calcium, will not be able to cause a luminal rupture. So we use the smaller size. Imagine that it is a 20 or a 21 millimeter conduit. The atlas will be 12 to 14 millimeter. After 14 millimeter, the next balloons will be ZMed.
for the last case, you use in that circumferential calcification, you use a ZMed or an atlas balloon?
What I showed was a 16 millimeter ZMed balloon and a 20 millimeter ZMed balloon. But prior to that, there was a 12 millimeter atlas that went in, created a space for my 16 millimeter ZMed. Otherwise, if we directly take a 16 millimeter ZMed on a calcified conduit and inflate the ZMed balloon, it will rupture. It will rupture. Rupture not due to the lack of space, but it is due to the hard spicules of calcium from the previous valve, which will poke into the ZMed and create a problem.
Can I have another question? You pre-mounted the your Andra XXL on the balloon, which will increase the size of the delivery system to deliver that. Why not to stay first put the Andra and then put the Melody rather than, because it will delivery system, which French delivery system required?
The ensemble that comes with the Melody can
It-
easily
the-
accommodate an
the
Andra or a CP stent on the Melody.
Okay, CP stent, it comes with,
Exactly.
okay. So still the profile will be higher.
It
It can easily accommodate the same delivery ensemble
no,
can
it-
accommodate. So you don't have to increase the size or
Okay,
decrease the
yeah.
size of the.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Can I
Yeah.
ask one?
Actually, there is
question?
one stent that you can add easily. Yep.
Good afternoon, sir. Prashant here. Sir, when you balloon occluded
Yes,
with
Prashant.
22, there was a coronary compression, but with 20, there was no coronary compression in the second. So, the external diameter of the Melody valve, when you're placing a 20, would be more than 20, right, sir? So, my question is, instead of
Exactly.
20,
Exactly.
could
So,
we have
but-
place
but-
18?
But no. Actually, the larger the better is the general rule. Whenever we deploy a Melody valve, or for that matter any valve, whether it is even a my valve, the inflation diameter what we are choosing, and the final diameter will be about 1 to 2 millimeter less because of a recoil of each and every valve that we are putting in. Let's assume that you are putting a 26 millimeter my valve. You fully deploy it to 26 and then check the fluoroscopy what is the diameter, and you will have a diameter of 24 or 24.5. There is always a small amount of recoil. So if you are escaping a 20 millimeter balloon without a coronary compression, and if you are taking it on an ensemble 20, it transiently, momentarily, it may be compressing, but there will always be a recoil. In fact, after a 20 millimeter balloon, when we checked the fluoroscopic diameter of this particular Melody valve, it was only about between 18 to 19. There is invariably a recoil of each and every valve that we are putting in.
Yeah, thank
The
you.
recoil will be 1 to 2 millimeters.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. Now we are running a little bit late, so we are just still interested in knowing that your last case about that ASD. Are you going to come